Good afternoon and welcome to CJ Scott. You know it comes every Saturday to you, and we are glad to be bringing this to you from Pete's Cafe. No, it's Pete's Connected Coffee. This particular one is on Chania Avenue, the Highland Suite. It's a place you need to come to. You need to come around and just have a feel of this place. The ambience is beautiful. There's a pool upside on the 7th floor. The best coffee that you'd have in town. There's a specific drink that I would want you to come and have in this place. That's the mint. That's the mint. It is their signature drink. And every Friday I come around over here. Rather, most Fridays I come here because I love to do the chicken. What is that called? I love to do the chicken biryani. Yeah, so you need to get here to the Pete's. But today, we've got an interesting panel and an interesting topic as well, even as we hang out over here. We're talking about being 40. So many years ago, a young lady came up and sang and said, you know, age ain't nothing but a number. But somebody said that life begins at 40. I don't know which one of those thoughts you subscribe to, but I've got a gentleman who is not very new to us. He's been on the show before, but he's a co-host of a show called Being 40. So I've got Frank Molla, who's a certified negotiator, but a co-host of Being 40. Good to see you, Frank.
Thank you. Happy to be here once again.
All right.
Yeah.
And his co-host is here as well, Venus. On Facebook, you use Europa.
They're both my names, but
Okay.
I prefer Venus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the two of you have been hosting this. I don't know why that idea never came to me, being 40. I don't like to feel left out by great ideas, and we'll be talking about that. Then I've got my friend as well, and she's not 40.
Thank you, please clarify that.
Yeah, she's not 40, but a lot of you know her, Crystal Okusa. Crystal, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me back.
All right. You know, the first thing somebody asked me is when they saw the flyer, was like, is Crystal 40 years old? I said, no, Crystal she isn't 40. But Frank, probably I will start with you. You know, being 40, what is this thought about being 40?
Wow, being 40. You know, what really happened? I mean, we just sat somewhere and, you know, went to the same primary school. We met in the uni when I was passing by her. She was going to classes for the classes.
Right.
And then we met in the air in the flight at some point. And then later we just came and said, hey, come on, why? We can start something. Because she has a different show called Mind Spa.
Okay.
And there's something I'm doing around brutal facts. So we said, why don't you come up with something? So the first thing we thought about was over 40. And then our producer said, no, there's a group calling themselves over 25. So maybe there might be conflict. And I mean, it was a very, very casual conversation. And then we just settled for being 40. I don't know if there's anything I missed, but that's how more or less it formulated. It was just a discussion.
All right. But before even we get into that, let me just acknowledge a few people. Grace Arabella Garcia, Philip Ludio, Hilda Mwenesi, Ernest Jacinda, Lina, it's good to see you, Lina. Chilson Vidolo, Mukami Nyaga, sorry. Dennis Njao, the host of Gold Mine. Rachel Nyawira Njao, Steve Kialo, all joining us. Please, Mario Wairegi, Emmanuel Swaka, Jacqueline Obiero, William Omole, Kingsley Owaga, Tina Kitale, you were with us last week, Edith Ajema, and Princess Koi, Alice. Please do us a favor and share this on your timeline if you can. Host a watch party because this is going to be interesting. Crystal,
Yes.
Before I get to Venus, you know, this age thing, is age anything or is just a number?
It's big on some issues. I'm very big on age on some issues. I don't think there's an issue fear. Speaking about your age, I have no problem. I even wonder why people get embarrassed when you ask them, how old are you? They're like, why would you ask me that? I'm thinking, it's just age.
Is it just age?
It is just age. It's just it's not a big deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know when you were turning 30 at some point, that was very
Yes.
huge for you.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that was very huge for you, and we would have these conversations, and you were looking at 30 as this huge thing.
Yes.
But then now people look at 40 as this huge
It's
thing.
an even bigger milestone, yeah.
Yeah. Venus, are we making so much of a big deal over nothing?
No, I'm with you on that. I believe we should celebrate milestones. I also had a very big party at my 40 when I turned 40.
Okay.
Reason being, something just happens when you hit the fourth floor, and I think Frank will attest to this. Your mindset changes, and probably it comes from also the kind of culture we've been having, whereby we are always talking about 40th. There's something that's, there's that thing, the belief system of like being on the fourth floor is, but being there right now, I'm actually saying, I'm so different, totally different from how I did my stuff when I was in my 30s. It's sort of like, there's something that shifts in terms of your mentality.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like what? For example,
For example,
30s, so I'm just curious. Like, what did I... Okay, I'm curious.
In your 30s, I
Yes.
think you look more for also affirmation from people. It's more about, I think that was like my experience.
Okay.
Doing stuff for people, and looking out for love from other people, external forces.
Okay.
But in my 40s, I'm more content with me.
All right.
I become deeper. I'm more introspective.
Okay.
And everything I do is for Venus first.
All right.
Yes. This means even my children will have to give me space.
I think
I
we
come
can
from
say
my
I'm 40
flight.
then.
Being 40 and the way, to me, I think it's been a stereotype.
Okay.
And it's got stuck into our minds that 40 is like halftime. When you get to 40, there's this thing. So a number of us tend to look forward to being 40.
All right.
Now we go with that mindset, and then we get there. Some of us want to achieve certain things by the time we're getting to 40. And that's why you see Venus would sit back and say, getting to 40, a number of things tend to change. Why is that so? Look at 40 as if it's a stage, because the number of experiences you might have gone through by the time you're 40, compared sometimes to somebody who's 20 or 30, you might have really gone through a lot of stuff. Not to say that you don't have people in their 20s and 30s who've gone through certain experiences, but what you realize generally is almost at 35, you're getting towards 40. If you've not achieved certain things in life, then you start feeling like, whoa, am I left behind? Right? At 30, 20, somebody still feels like I still have a runway. I'm not yet ready to take off. At 40, for some guys, right? If you feel like maybe you don't have a house, you don't have a car, depending on what your vision is, people start getting. What are we discussing the other time? We're talking about not depression, midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Right? Around 40 is when you start getting people. This midlife crisis is checking in. Why? It is because somebody is feeling, I've not achieved certain things in life or milestones, and time is rushing. So for you, for example, by the time you get to 40, and for God's sake, later you're not married. For example, some people sit back and say, I'm not yet married, I don't have kids, I don't have a stable job. So there are different things by the time you're getting to 40 that you start feeling like maybe you missed out on. That's how I look at it.
Do we put ourselves under pressure with this age thing? Because like even in the development of children, right, they don't grow at the same pace. Do we put ourselves under pressure, especially the African society, like, you're 40. Actually, it starts with you're getting to 30.
Yeah.
As a lady, you need to be married. You're getting to 30 as a man, settle down, So when we get to that 40, for some people, you'd have a big bash like Venus. But there are people who don't even want to hear that they're about to turn 40 because of those things that you're talking about. Like the thought is by 40, I should be having my own house, I should be settled. And they're looking at 40 like they're already 38. They actually are probably still looking for a job. They're in between stuff. Don't you think that can put a lot of pressure on people as well?
I think we create our own pressure, and of course there are other factors that come into play when you talk about how we perceive life, how we look at stuff around us. For example, this age thing is a cultural thing. By the time you're turning 30 and probably you don't have a husband, your mother will ask you, hey, I've not seen you bring, yes, there are those kind of questions that, come from our families, and it is basically based on culture.
Okay.
Yes. And life is about shifting from such forces and really seeing who you are and loving who you are and having a clear vision. Okay? As long as you're allowing external things to put pressure, you will never ever be happy. You will never ever be productive. Why? You're living for someone else. And that's what Frank is talking about. You get to a certain place and you realize this life is mine. Right. The heart that I have belongs to Venus. It's not out there, you see. So I have to live for me, and that is something, that I like, pushing out there when I'm doing my psychological stuff, and just, pushing people to become a better version of themselves, and trying to sort of like demarcate or separate them from these external issues, because at the core of everything is you.
All right.
Then comes your family. Then comes your church and your community, then probably, other things, So if you're always looking out there, as I said before, for these other things to hold you in place, you'll end up losing you.
I think it also comes from the fact that we compare a lot. Okay. We do compare, yes. There's a friend who said, we are age mates. So she said, I was like, no, we're supposed to be celebrating life, especially me, Crystal. You're married, you have kids, you have a good job. Look at me. I was like, but you have a good job. Or you have a child, but I'm not married. I'm thinking, so it's not a big deal. She thinks you think it's not a big deal because you have it. If you're where I am, then you realize we're not equal. Because I was trying to show her we're just the same. She's like, no, we're not. Then so I couldn't convince her that it's not a big deal. It didn't have to be like 30s don't have to make sense because you're married. It needs to be just, are you achieving the goal that you wanted to achieve? Nope. Just like, I've been looking for this man, I cannot seem to find this man, and then I'm just growing older, I'm about to turn 35, nothing is changing. I was just like, okay.
I think you need to ask her, where is she looking for that man? Where, exactly, because sometimes somebody say, I'd love to get a born-again man, but you're in the bars, really. Are you going to get that man there? We attract what you give out, right? And anything you send out is what you receive. Right. But like her example, brilliant example, you come and get, I'm anchoring my milestone based on somebody else's progress, right? Why should I do that? Right. And when it comes even to success, think of the KFCs. The guy started KFC and he was what, 60 something years? I mean, it's
so there's hope for me.
CJ, it happens.
Right.
Look at this. There are guys, and even when you are starting Being 40, which is all about our story, where we came, where we grew up and where we are right now. But what you're saying is, our right is not the only right, but we're just telling you our story. But if you relate, talk to us. If there's something else that you want to add on. Now, you finish your high school. Some of us are lucky, you go to, university, and some people start working. Right. Have you realized that there are people who start working at 21, but at 30, they've not really achieved so much? But somebody starts working at 30 and he achieves everything in a year that you've achieved in 10 years. Right. Everybody has their own timing.
There's a friend of mine, even as you talk about it, there's a friend of mine that he started off, we were in college together, he was pursuing education. That's like 25 years ago. And the guy just got admitted to the bar the other day. His father was a lawyer. And I think the thing was just in him. It was only a matter of time. So he took himself back to school for a long period, just trying that because he already has kids and a family. But he has just gotten admitted to the bar the other day. That was so exciting for me.
So changing careers now.
Yeah, in his 40s.
Yeah.
So it's not too late, right? 40s is not something we get scared about.
No. And I think just speaking on what Crystal has said, we all, this thing about comparing yourself with other people, it can be really, really frustrating. Right. It's what causes, anxiety, other issues, other unnecessary things that crop up out of this negative energy. We cannot, if you look at a garden, like just around us, this is a very beautiful place. Right. You realize that even this grass took time. There's always time, and you cannot be at the same space, all of you together. So it's for you to know, when can I thrive? And what Frank was talking about, I would like to really relate it with the bamboo story.
Okay.
By the time a bamboo shoots up, it takes time. You know, it takes a few, how many years, Frank?
No, actually, before it germinates, like
Yes.
from it's like years. When the thing comes
Yes.
out, takes like weeks.
Yes.
Now you know why I'm taking time. This is the bamboo story.
But let me ask you, I don't know if you've read, she's called Sheryl Sandberg, her story, the CEO of Facebook and stuff. Then she said that I think she changed her career maybe 4 times or 3 times. But you see, she was in her 30s and 40 and stuff, and it worked out for her. But then you come back here and you think, okay, people look at you like you're crazy if you're trying to change your career in your 30s, or you're like you're seeing your friend moving from education into law. It's like, huh? Are you sure what you're doing with yourself? You know. So then you wonder. Some people even question: are you going through midlife crisis? Or abroad it's acceptable, but here it's a question of, weren't you sure the decisions earlier? Like, isn't your 30s and your 20s when you're supposed to be making mistakes and you correct them? Why are you changing your career a little later in life? Like, what is wrong with you? It's more like, what is wrong with you, as opposed to, oh, good job. Now you're following your dreams. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys feel like? Because you guys are in your 40s.
Let's talk about that element you've brought up. It's coming for the second time. Like this midlife crisis thing. Let's talk about this midlife crisis
No,
thing.
it's, I mean, and what she says, there's a lot of things when you think of the Western, they're anchored in, they have systems in place.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at, quote unquote, I'd say maybe Africa or Kenya, so to speak, what drives us is what we call success, which is defined as material things, unfortunately, right? So any job that I get, I don't want to lose it because I'm not sure if I'm going to get another one. And anything that I get and I can siphon some cash and it's a quick way to success based on our definition, then that's what happens. So when somebody wants to change, you'll be like, but why are you changing? You're earning. I mean, somebody would
And it's not
want
even that they care about you. No. It's how they benefit from it. Because if you lose this job, they will not be benefiting. So you stay in there for
so
us.
That's what usually happens. You see, in the West, somebody is even 45 years. They sit back and say, no, I'm sick and tired of being a vice president or a president. I want to go and sing.
Yes.
And you're like, excuse me, dude, sing? Be serious. But now to midlife crisis. I mean, it's, I think midlife crisis, most people attribute it any age. I think it's from almost 38, 35 all through. Men would take almost 10 years in that phase. Ladies take up to 3 years. Different things drive midlife crisis. And this is one of the things we touched on in one of our episodes. Why do I say that? It's because midlife crisis is caused by things like jealousy. Do you know that?
Wow.
Somebody just being jealous over somebody else. You can easily go under depression because you want that. You can't have it. You know, people, there are those ones where you get somebody's, you've lost a loved one. Sometimes you can't control that. There's nobody to hold on to at a certain point. You come and get, even in midlife crisis, and I was saying this, CJ, it can also be midlife thriving. There are guys who get to that point and they don't necessarily have to go through a crisis. Things just change and they just start thriving. So it depends on how you look at it, but there are very basic things that drive midlife crisis.
What are those things that would make the difference between the crisis and the thriving? What are those things that would trigger? Why would one person in their 40s, even in their 30s, Crystal, why would one person just take off? And for another one, that nearly becomes like their graveyard. And they'll actually blame it on the stage that they are in. What are some of those things?
Wow, good question. I would approach it from a holistic perspective where we look at the physical, the psychological, and the spiritual. Personally, I believe awareness is key to everything. If you do not know where you are at in life, even the most tiniest of facts, like the kind of physical change that you are bound to experience in your 30s and in your 40s, then basically you're operating from a blind spot. When you reach your 40s, right now I am aware of what to expect. I know I have, basically there's some hormonal changes happening in me. And sooner or later I'll start, having my hair recede and all that. There's all those things that happen as a woman gets into her 40s, okay? So that sort of, if you're aware, you're able to prepare. And when you're able to prepare, then that means you have the antidote. For example, if I know my body is going to experience experience certain changes, and I still need to thrive in certain areas, including beauty, because I would not allow my hairline to recede. So that means I start saving up to go and see the right person who's going to give me the right medication to help this hormone, get, sort of like balance.
Okay.
Psychologically, we look at mentality. He talks about jealousy and all that happens. Of course, you realize that the more successful you are, the less or the fewer friends you have in life. Why is that? Human beings are emotional beings. And if you look at, even going back to the Garden of Eden, what made Adam and Eve be thrown out of the Garden of Eden? Sin. The devil promised them something that God had not told them about. Right. So we are always looking for a certain fulfillment, And if someone gets it before you, you have a problem. Somehow, there's this emotion that is evoked in you. And God hates that spirit of jealousy. Right. So as long as you're having these issues, you will never be successful.
All right.
You will never be, because it can actually lead you to your deathbed. That thing of like, I have to have this thing. Like, CJ has this show. Even me, I have to have it.
I was just going to say that, like, thank you for not being jealous. That's, you allowed yourselves to come.
Amen.
Can I answer this from a point of, fine, I'm not 40 yet, but then I think that the things that we see happening, despite whatever age, because you're also, like you're saying, you're comparing. But you see, when I kept telling you that we need the things we need to do before a certain age, so that when we get to 40, for example, you're not faced with midlife crisis. When, like men, you need to not get married earlier. Like, at least wait until you're in your late 30s, so that you don't have to face midlife crisis.
I will say that.
That's just my. I just what I've seen.
That's what you're seeing.
What I've seen. Yes. Crystal. Oh my God, what did I miss out on? Oh my God, I have this money, now I'm spending this. Oh my God.
Let me tell you, at 20, at 30, at 40, we still look at it like, hey, I'm still missing this.
But if you spend up to 35 just having your fan, don't you think at least by the time you get to 40, you're done?
Let's put it like this. Let's put it in stages, not age per se.
Issue? Is it a personality issue? Is it a character issue?
I think it's a stage issue.
It's a stage. Yes, it's a stage issue, right? Because you'll get somebody who's 30 or 28, but because of the experiences this person has already gone through and the stage where you're in your life, they might just be able to be fine, right? So yes, you might get a few, not many to her point, a few who might be able to, but I always say, even for me now, I mean, at 40, I've been single for a while. Now is when I'm like settling down, and my mind is very clear what I want, because I had a vision, I had a plan, everything. But it's not always 100%. There's always a 20% which you have to fight when you're in that institution, right? So it's more a stage, not so much age.
Okay, Chris, this thing is burning me. I have to ask, now that he's not married and he's 40, there's something we hear about 40-year-old bachelors, and most of the time we're told, be very scared of them. If you're a single woman and you see a 40-year-old bachelor, just ask yourself, what has he been doing between 35 and 40?
It's true.
And he's never gotten married.
Be very scared,
Yeah, be very scared of him, because either he's just going to be extremely controlling as he's set in his ways, or he will not be willing to compromise and, do better. He just thinks that I know what I'm doing. Please don't get into it. Yes.
No,
is that true?
So, and I like the school of thought, because I look at it from perception and source of information, more or less, right? Guys always say data is oil, but I say data is refined data. Refined oil is what is real data, right? So when we get information like somebody's 40 and all this has happened, for me, and if I give you my example, it was not per se by choice. And I've been deliberate about it. Somebody say, oh, you're 40 and you're single, and in their definition they'd say you're also successful. Success sometimes people define it differently. So their definition, Frank is successful, right? I would tell somebody, you're single, you're 40, you're successful, quote unquote. Why don't you and I get hooked? I told her, the fact that I'm single doesn't mean I'm available.
All right.
Right? The fact that somebody's single, one, doesn't mean he's number two, you also need to find out, by the time this person is 40, don't just jump in. You need to find out, so who's Frank? Before 40, what was really happening behind the scenes, so that you don't fear, because that might be the last bus God has sent to you.
But what are the things that, somebody who's watching, who's not 30, who's not 40, they're in their 20s. They have all these dreams and all this energy, and sometimes they actually just want to do things their own way. They're thinking, okay, you guys just talk about you being 40. I'm not 40. I'm not you. I've got to find my own path in life. But what are some of those things that when you look back at now, differently from when you were 20? I know Venus has talked about now you're more yourself. But what are some of those things that if you're sitting with your 20-year-old self, you tell your 20-year-old self?
I mean, Venus, you wanna or should I? CJ. It's a whole lot of things. Right. There's economic side of it. There's career part of it. There's social part of it. I mean, if somebody told me dancing was as fun as I'm dancing now, I would have started. I'm a Roomba dance instructor at 40, right? And if I knew that
after this show, that class is completely full. I'm telling you.
And if I knew, because it always doesn't have to be linked to money, economical status, and career. There are certain things that just give you certain fulfillment in life, right? So if I knew probably in my 20s that Roomba dance or the dancing, just doing it for fitness, for fun, and it just keeps you happy and you sleep well, I would have started dancing long time ago. If I knew shares, for example, I trade in stock exchange. If I knew that somebody told me about shares way back, by now probably I would be like Warren Buffett with enough shares and everything else. So career-wise, again, people talk about passion, and people talk about, you see when most guys go for interviews, what happens? Are you passionate? And the first thing you say, I'm passionate, I am self-something. For me now, if I go for an interview, I am passion. Passion is me. I've been working for the last 15 years. I can't start saying I'm passionate now. So if I knew some of these things way back, I don't need to go to an employer and say I'm passionate, because passion has to be part and parcel of you. But it's the way we are designed by the society that it is written, if you go for an interview, this is a script. So you say it even if you don't really mean it. So I think there's a series of things, be it career, be it social, be it education. If guys who are in their 20s today, if you have a chance to go to school, my friend, please go.
And stay there.
If you have a chance to go to school, please go and finish. Then later, some of us never had that chance, so we had to catch up later, which is fine. But it's because you're young, you feel like you still have this runway, like I always say, niko sawa, and we'll make it.
Even as you talk about that, I know Crystal is in school. I'm going back to school in about 2 weeks. After 20-something years.
It's going to be a difficult one,
But just to mention a few people, Mary Kabare, Judy Ruel Minor, my brother Israel Robert Burale, good to see you. Lena says the environment we're in influences key decisions we make. You mentioned change of mindset is key in thriving in life. Generally, African culture is not flexible to changes. We are judged a lot, and until you decide to not care about what others think, that's what I call maturity. So we've got Wambua Charles as well, Manasseh Mwangi, John Marco Riang, and each and every one of you. Appreciate you for joining us today on this talk. Crystal, I was with you, and you were this big. You were big in style. Then you get to a certain stage in life. Now you're not even 40. You get to a certain stage in life, and then you just change the trajectory of your life. What caused that? What are these changes? Because everybody would easily identify. We were running a show with Crystal, and everybody would identify Crystal even more than they would identify me quickly, because it connected to their homes. Style my wife, and all these men bringing in their wives and saying, ever since my wife gave birth to kids, she's just let herself go. She's not dressing well. She's got this old T-shirt, one which she uses every night for the last 10 years and all that stuff. So men were really getting help from Crystal. Then you get to a certain place and something switches.
Something changes. I think mostly that even women were getting out of help empowering them. Well, let me tell you this. When I was doing, I did not grow up and say, I want to be in style. I bumped into style.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm those people who you're saying started working so early, I think at 19. I'm very aggressive. I get there, I'm just like, okay, yes, I can do that. Okay, I can do that, yes. Do you know how, yes, I've done it before. Show me how to do it. So then I do it, and my boss gets excited and he likes it. I'm like, okay. So he told me, actually, you know what? You did a better job than I expected you're going to do. So then I think it's more innate. I don't have to learn it. I don't have to struggle to do it.
Okay.
So it's more like something, I turned a hobby into a career.
All right.
Yeah, something I'm very passionate about, I guess, but not necessarily. If I was abroad, maybe my mind would have changed, because I think if I was abroad, I'd probably be a millionaire, just doing exactly what I'm doing without even changing a thing.
All right.
Yes, but I'm also aware that our culture doesn't fully embrace this kind of lifestyle.
Okay.
Secondly, for the longest time, I always wanted to do development and fashion, but I used to wonder, how will I make it work together? I did not have a solution, so either I had to leave one to do the other continuously. So I was in between. Then I felt like, you know what, for the longest time I've done this and it's been going well, and most important thing, I've empowered the women. I realized, to me, what was more important was not the style part, it was more empowering the women. And I realized, at least then we were connecting. Are they buying what I'm selling? So fine, the show was selling style, but they were buying empowerment. So they're buying self-esteem, they're buying empowerment, because the message that I would get wasn't now I look good, was now I feel better about myself.
Right.
Now my relationship has improved. I didn't have a job. You've helped me pick myself up. Those are the things I was getting, not now I look very amazing and this and then. It had to, okay, I look amazing, but this is the key.
But you see, when a girl is at 24, 25, they want to be Crystal. They want to be this person that, Yeah. So you wanted to do something like development.
Yes.
You're glad that you have empowered the women.
Yes.
But what is this that you were seeing in your 30s that is very different from what the 20-year-old was seeing? Is it the definition of success? Is it where we find fulfillment? Like the 25-year-old thinks, if I get on that TV set and
I get you. Yeah, people get excited about being popular and being celebrities. For me, again, unfortunately, that's not why I do what I do. I don't get excited about being popular. We're just discussing Instagram. If I was excited about being popular, I think I'd be doing this Instagram like nobody's business. But I don't get excited about that. It's just, for me, it's a quality of what I'm doing. So then again, what changed maybe is I want to get involved in policy making, like things that are going to create change, not just immediate. It needs to be long term.
Right.
So that is how I felt, okay, now this is the time. I can't wait too long. Fine, it's scary to change careers completely because people identify me with this.
Right.
But then I also want to be identified with this. What if it doesn't work? What if they don't accept me? But I'm taking the leap. Yes,
so you said you're 40 what again?
No. I am 33 now. I don't have a problem mentioning it. I'm 33 now.
I know 33.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying that is because when I hear you explain your change, you're bringing in an element called purpose. And not so many people at 33 start doing, and I don't know if you realize it, but at 40 is when people start sitting back and saying, what's my purpose in this life? What I'm picking from our conversation is at 33, she already has, because what she's doing is empowering other people. It has nothing to do so much with her. It has nothing to do with how you look. But hey, I just want to see women succeed. So she's identified already a purpose at 33 and already building on that. I mean, guys, I don't care how you look, or as long as I want to see you being able to do things in a certain way.
Right.
And that's what we call purpose.
Yeah, like when you talk to the women and then they're very meek and, oh my God, my life is over. They're picking them up and realizing that, okay, then they tell you, Crystal, the fact that you spoke to me made me see that it's not over. It just makes me feel like, oh, thank you, now I can sleep. I've done something good. Yeah. But you said something about education as well. And then I'm 33. I went back to school. Doing media, I went to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, which was like, this, when you want to do media and go to KMC, you're fully equipped. So I didn't see the point of going back to do my undergrad because I was in media and I was equipped from KMC. But then if I want to change, what do? I have to go back to school. I went back to school and I was doing undergrad. Then my classmates, I was very young, maybe like 24, 23, and then they are so playful. Then you're thinking, okay, I get it. What you're saying about if I was in my 20s, I wish somebody told me to just go to school. Just go to school and keep doing it, even if you're not sure how I'll use it later.
Just do it.
Yes, I wish I just did it.
Yeah.
So because you see the way they interact with the further education, maybe they'll think maybe the rest of us are boring because we're so committed. You want to be in class? Like, what's wrong with you? I'm thinking, I'm older now. I've done this in my 30s as opposed to in my 20s when you guys are doing it. And then they want to maybe like, it's exciting to storytell, to copy, not to attend classes. I'm just like, oh God, you guys.
I actually come from a very different school of thought.
Yeah.
About school. Just like Frank, us guys started the other way around. I mean, I had my babies and all that in my 20s, mid 30s, and then I went back to school. I'm in school currently, just almost graduating for my master's. And I have no regrets. Why? Because right now my energy is in the right space.
Okay.
You know, when you're young, your energy is all over. Remember, we have our kids. My firstborn is 21. So you can imagine if I'm to force him to go to class, I mean, out there, he'll do what he wants. He will miss class. He will, you know, because there's so much going on in terms of even, you know, the kind of changes that he's experienced mentally, you know, having a self-identity and everything.
Yeah.
But now, Chris today, seated in class, yes, there'll be all these young people, but he knows I'm here, I'm focused, this is what I want to do. You can actually, you know, challenge your lecturer, you know, because you have the confidence.
Yeah.
There's that kind of maturity that comes out. So for me, I think what remains key is knowing you. I will emphasize that, being a psychologist, being in that place of awareness creates a lot of opportunity, because even purpose is not really, you don't have to find your purpose when you're in your 40s. If you become very, very aware of your environment, how your culture is shaping you, how your spiritual, your environment and everything has shaped you, then you're able to tap into the best that you have and give the best in terms of even empowering the people around you. So I think for me, it doesn't really matter. My son told me, I don't want to go to school. Finished his year 11, year 12.
Is it because they feel like they've been in school all their life?
I'm telling you, these people are just, they have no idea what's outside here. They have no idea.
We have a very different generation that is coming up. You know, they're like, I know myself. I mean, I was not created to read. You know, all these things. And you're like, my God, I would not tell that to my dad. I'd be kicked out of the house, you know. So at the end of the day, we are also different. And I think the best thing is just knowing where you are in life, getting a mentor to come and, tell you this is, someone who can look at you from the external side, and telling you this, I think you're good at this. Yeah. Just listening to you, I can tell you're very good with media and all that. So, when you're given that kind of encouragement, then definitely I need to go for it. Because feedback remains key in life. True. So you cannot just do stuff just because I feel, when you get someone else who's telling you, I think, Chris, this is good for you, then you're able to pick that up and, grow this thing. It's
called being strategic. But then that happens when you're getting older as opposed to when you're in your 20s.
My sons have this, they always will sit down with their mother. They know I will not listen to that story. So they go and sit with their mother and they say, you know what? We know what we want. We want to be footballers and we want to earn money. So this classwork you're telling us to do, we don't feel it.
Exactly. It's because you're old school. Yeah, if you actually just nurtured that, then
old school?
You are old school in your thinking.
As well.
They do. I say that
Crystal,
because I think
you just came here to say I'm old school.
You're old school in your thinking. Because look, instead of wasting that time sending them to school to do let's say the university, it's expensive. How about you invest that money into the camp? They call it the football camps or something. They've already told you. They have.
This is an interesting conversation. You know why?
Yes.
If we carry this show and we put it somewhere in the UK, then what you're saying would make sense. UK meaning like London.
Okay.
But my friend, today, you take your kids, they start training football and then they go to Harambee Stars or Tusker, I don't know. Our environment, when it comes to sports, honestly speaking, just mention how many who just went to either, if there's any academy, we've not created an enabling environment to make our kids get to that point of say, I want to do sports so that it can take me to this point. What is getting into their minds is the Champions League and the likes. Yes. And they see this person or the NBAs, or so to speak. So their aspirations are beyond what they can even reach for. So, and that's why I sometimes say, there are some small things our kids do let's not swear about them. Their hairstyles, they are doing what, that's fine. But the moment they start having these dreams, and admittedly I come from the school of thought here of, you tell me you want to be an astronaut, right? Which is fine, is valid. But my friend, from where? How will you start? So it's for us to shape some of these thoughts. As a parent, you be realistic. There is what you can dream about, and there's now a realistic thing. You wake up from that dream and realize, nilikuwa nimelala kidogo. When it comes to culture,
if Pastor Chris can afford university, for example, say he can afford Daystan, he can afford Catholic.
Yes,
they're not as they're higher in comparison to public universities.
Yes,
the kids have already said, Dad, I just want to be footballers.
Correct.
So akijiskuma ama akisema let's come together, utafanya kazi uniongeze, then this is how I'll pay for you this much, utafanya kazi uniongeze. Then they sit together, then they find the academies that can work. Fine, I agree with you, we don't have proper like clubs, for example, here. But then if he sits with them and says, okay, if you really want this much, what are you going to give me? Are you going to also work? If I send you abroad, for example, if I send to that country that is going to nurture this talent, can you also contribute? Because this is how much I can offer. Instead of forcing them to go here and do fine actual science, education, then your money goes to waste. What's the point?
It's a negotiation.
Yes.
But generally, okay, you see, because we spoke about the element of like, you've gone back to school, you've gone back to school, I've gone back to school.
Yeah.
Frank is in the school of
I'm
life.
trying to go back to school.
He's always reading. This guy always has books, so he's in school in a sense. Doesn't that tell us the value of education? Like as you're growing older, you realize the value of education, whether it is formal or informal.
No, Chris, allow me to say this first. We are from the 844 system, and our parents were not nurturing of talents and skills and stuff. So all we know is school. So even if, unless you're good at arts and stuff, sour, but if you're not, then you know, okay, fine, if this is not working, I just need to go to school to keep doing for this to work. That's what we know. But these other kids have opportunities where the skills and the talents are being nurtured, which is different from us, though.
There, the celebrities who lose their money because they didn't even know what to do.
True.
They never had any basic education, so they relied on their gifts and their talents and their skill, but they couldn't manage that. Then there are other things as well, like sports that have, you're not going to play football until you're 50. It's probably until 35, then you're off. Somewhere along the line, you still need to do something. After that, you make your money. After 35, what do you do with this money? Isn't that the place that now education plays a role?
I have an answer, but let's just wait.
It does. And again, for me, I think it depends on how we want. Education is not only in class.
That's why I say formal and informal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll come from different school of thoughts, depending on our socialization, our upbringing, the friends we hang around. And the one thing I wanted to say before I forget was every time we talk about culture, we need to realize that we form that culture ourselves.
You do.
So every time we say the culture is making things look like this, we need to know we are parts and parcel of that culture. We can decide to start changing it as one person, then it goes round. But when it comes to school, again, we have people going to school at 40, like to your point, just going back and saying, I want to finish my psychology.
Yeah.
CJ, I'll tell you, I met Venus in Nazarene. We were going to class and like exam. Me, I sat, I opened the exam and I realized there's nothing I know. And then the lecturer says, or the professor says, you cannot leave until 2 hours. I'm telling him, dude, there's nothing I know in this paper. I have to leave. And this was, I don't know if it's 2-3 years or
more than.
I was trying to go back to school, right? Because I never graduated way back. And the guy said, you cannot leave. Do you know, I stood up and I left. And I told him, boss, this thing is not for me. I've really tried and I can't. So when you talk about education, right? There is the formal one, which for me I'd advocate for. If you're able, umemaliza, you have to go. If you can go to uni, you can take your kids. Please take them at that point in time. If you can, they'll need it to kombele. They just don't realize it. But if you can't, like for me, I mean, after Form 4, it's just the fact that I was not able to. But I had to navigate. What else do I need to do? But I still came back to education. And I ended up doing some of these executive courses and all that stuff. So education, it depends You as an individual, how do you want to define it?
Okay.
Being in class is not education. Just you stepping out and going somewhere, you learn a lot of things along the way. All that is education, everything you do every time.
Even the short courses.
Exactly.
Life skills,
Yeah.
you
It
know.
depends on
You
how
would
you
have that.
apply
You can give
these
them that.
things. That's what matters. How do you apply?
Yeah.
That's
And
what matters.
I think at a certain point in life, you do realize. You see, if you're willing, there's a difference. When you do something because you're willing, and when you're forced to do it. The reason why we are having kids going out there rioting and taking drugs and all that is because they've been forced to go and learn. There are those who are at home and they're just still discovering themselves. And once they tap into their inner self and realize I was born to do this, let me tell you, they pursue it to the end. And they don't need anyone to cheer them on, you see. Right. So I think culture, as Frank is saying, culture really plays a very important role. Because this is Africa.
Even
Move on to
influencing your
Europe, things
thinking.
are done differently.
Yes.
My friend has his, I don't know, is it 8-year-old boy who's been playing football from the time he was like 3. And this guy knows, I'm going to be a footballer. And this is what they're nurturing, Now here, at your Toi, he was 8 years, telling you, my friend, you will be deported to Shags first as punishment. Then you come back and you're sent to school. Because our belief is you have to have a degree.
Now, Crystal, for the record, I struck a deal with my sons.
Okay.
I said, give me grades, I give you your dream.
Okay.
I struck a deal with them. So I'm not as old school.
You're still on that.
But I wanted to ask this. Is it true that as you grow older and you're getting into like the 40s, you become more like your parents?
I don't even think in the 40s. I think even earlier.
Even earlier.
We tend to become our mothers or fathers.
But what happens is there are certain behaviors, you'll just have them. And somebody will see and say, this one is like the father. This one is behaving like the mother. This one is standing like the father. This one is doing this and that. But socialization plays another interesting role, and something called exposure sometimes. Because this one is like the father, but he went and studied abroad, but he came back with behaviors which are not from this family. Where did you get these behaviors from? So to some degree, there are some innate things that, yes, don't really get to go. But I think eventually, I don't know, maybe 50s, you default back to your roots in a way, one or another. But there are some things that you don't really drop, but there are things you acquire along the way. So either they'll amplify the similarities you have with your parents, or sometimes it just deducts. Because how is it that you're a pastor or somebody's a pastor, but they have a kid who's a thief?
Exactly.
What is driving that?
Environment.
Environment. Socialization. The people they hang around with. Show me your 5 friends, I'll show you who you are. You don't need to tell me. What is... Even when our kids what do we expose our kids to? Even now, it's even worse than before. Not even our days. Our parents' days, dating was quite interesting. You'd meet in a maize plantation or something, or you'll be introduced. My friend, nowadays digital,
Instagram.
I'm just seeing your face. I poke you, you poke me. We poke each other.
Do you know that thing where you say we become our parents? I think we do from. Okay, maybe we start noticing when you're starting to make life-changing decisions, like getting married, for example. You realize you're marrying your father or you're marrying your mother. It could be good and bad. Because sometimes people who said, maybe your father was a drunkard or your father was a philanderer, you think, I don't want to be like my father. But then because you're running away from it so much, you become exactly like that person. Then if you're told, you're like, no, that's not me. I cannot be like my father. Then you're thinking, dude, that's exactly what you're doing. Because I've seen these cases. So I think some things are not, they don't go away. We tend to, I think it's the environment that we grew up in. So we think a man who behaves like this or a woman who behaves like this is what I resonate with. So then when you get married, you tend to marry people who are battered, tend to marry into a person who's battering you, unless you make a conscious decision. I am going to be aware of my every step so I don't make the same decision. Otherwise, the cycle, as much as we don't want to admit it, it does continue. Another point is, there's where my child goes to school, there's the head teacher who told me something. She's way older. And it stuck with me. She said, parents need to get over the thought that children know what they want. Children are sponges. We think they're sponges when they're young, yeah? She's like, no, children are sponges throughout. Even if the child says, I want to be this, they'll only say that because of the option that you've given. But if you also give the options that you think are going to in relation to what you'd like them to be, because you maybe think you know your children, or you know what's good for them. Fine, they might know what they want, but you also know what's good for them as a parent. So she said, don't just let them decide. You sort of need to anchor them towards what you think they should be. Yes. And it stuck with me because she's a head teacher of a primary school. I was like, okay. She does have a point. So,
True.
We should have it in mind.
Agreement. I mean, agreement.
All right, there is Jen Jibichi Tarus. I think she's talking about Venus, saying my fellow Rotarian.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Faith Vata Musilu, good to have you. Chris Bravery, Flora Koile, Geoffrey Emungat, Leah Holler, it's good to have you as well. Phoebe Atieno was saying at 40, that's where reality of life hits. What is this reality?
It's personal. I mean, it's and that's why I always, when I talk about my 10-10-10, right? 10-10-10 is something I learned some time back from one of my bosses, and he always said, try and apply 10-10-10 in everything that you do, or before you do it, and then work backwards. So what does that mean? And I gave this example. You're a teenage girl and you're just about to indulge in sex, right? So what happens is, ask yourself, in the next 10 seconds you'll be having fun, you'll be enjoying. In the next 10 minutes probably you'll still be having hang-ups of what you've just had. In the next 10 hours you'll be like, what did I do? In the next 10 weeks you're starting to feel something. In the next 10 months, you probably have a 1-month-old baby. In the next 10 years, you have 3 years for your child to be a teenage. Then work backwards and ask yourself, is that what you want? So before you indulge, do your 10-10-10, then it gives you results and you go like, hey, dude, I don't want to do this because in the next 10 years, this is what is happening to me. So even at 40, when you feel like that's when reality is going to hit, ask yourself where you are now. Why do you think so?
All right.
Just do your 10-10-10 and work backwards. If you don't want that reality, then you can shape it and change it now.
Very true.
Now, Venus, what is, you guys run the Being 40 Show.
Yes.
And you get a lot of feedback.
Yes.
From just the feedback that you get, well, what do you think is the biggest thing that you would say most people are dealing with in their 40s now?
I think what has really come out, and maybe Frank can agree to this, is, everyone is looking for clarity.
Okay.
Clarity in life. And there's also that thing of like, well, we are in this journey, so affirming the fact that I'm also experiencing it. But what is the solution? Because it's not like, in your 20s, you'd have someone go through something and you're like, oh, don't worry, it's going to be okay. But in our 40s, we're thinking, what is the solution? Because what we want to see, applying that 10-10 rule is, in my 50s, I don't want to still be stuck or stagnated in this space. And that's why we came up with this, this program, this, episode of, encouraging people out there and telling them, listen, we are in this together. Give us your feedback. We're going to share our experiences and let's see how we can create a culture that can be different. Remember, by the 10-10 rule, if I would tell my dad to come, and give me his learning points, of when he was in his 40s, it would be totally different because he did his things differently. But now we are trying to sort of like bring out a successful kind of generation based on our failures, because there are guys who are in their 30s and they're saying, wow, like, Crystal here, wow, I like this, but I'm in a different space, But as you listen to us, you're also making goals, you're getting this very clear vision of where you would want to see yourself and avoiding those loopholes. So it's more of, I think for me, and seeing Frank as well, being in that space where we are also parenting teenagers.
Okay.
So there are things you don't want to see in your 50s in terms of even parenting. And getting feedback from other parents and they're telling you, by the way, even my kid has attitude, also reassures you that, this thing is almost like a culture in our teenagers because they all suffer from an attitude thing. So all of us in our 40s, I think, are looking for clarity.
My son was to be here today, and then he called me later. He said, Dad, I wanted to ask you if I can stay away.
By default. Cool.
Thinking, man.
Now, I wanted to add to Venus. Some of the things we pick different people. We have single mothers at 40. They are trying to understand. I mean, how do we navigate at 40 and I have a daughter and I have a son and the father is absent? We have people sitting back and saying, I'm 40 and I don't have a job. You know, you're 40. But for me, what I've seen overall, just to add to what Venus is saying, we have a group of people who fear getting to 40 because they feel they'll not have achieved certain things. And these things they fear they'll not have achieved is not being driven by them. It is what they are seeing other people, the environment.
All right.
So that stigma is so much in them that they feel, gosh, I have 3 years to be 40 and I haven't,
Right.
so and so has. By just changing that mindset and realizing the moment you start focusing on you, you gain that time, and by the time you get to 40 you realize, oh, actually 40 is just another number.
Right.
Let me go on.
All right. You know, our primary school class formed a WhatsApp group the other day. So we all came in. The very first 3 days, you get up and you find over 300 WhatsApp messages, and guys are catching up after over 30 years. You know, it's so exciting. Then slowly we begin to get into the realities of life, and it's like nearly everybody will tell you, you know, oh, my parent passed. At 40, a lot of people don't have their parents. And you wake up to the reality that now you are that generation that people are looking at. Like, you don't have your parent who is, well, some have the blessing of having that, but quite a number, even just the teachers that taught us, you keep on hearing, oh, that one passed. And you wake up to the reality. If it was in the African setup, you're actually the elders.
Yes.
You're looking for...
You know, actually, as you get closer to 40, you start attending or hearing many people are dying, as opposed to when you're younger. But it's because when you're younger, you don't... It used to happen, but your mind is in a different place.
You're not paying attention.
But as you age, you start feeling like, oh, so and so died. Oh, it becomes bad and bad. You're like, hey, my friend, we are living. So there's something happens as you age as well.
Are we prepared in the 40s, our generation, to take up that role? Are we prepared? You know, our parents would know a lot of things, even in terms of the culture. We talk about it, but at least they understood culture. They knew this needs to be done. We'll talk about this with that family. We'll discuss this. You need to invest over here, buy land, build a home over there. Are we even prepared? Is there something we can pass on to our kids, apart from education and money? Is there something that we can pass on to our kids? Because, you know, 40s now, we're actually those elders, man.
I think yes and no.
Do you ever think about that, Venus?
Venus, you've thought about. Do you think, to his question? Because to me, I look at it like it's a yes and no thing.
Because you see, looking at you, Frank, you still feel very young.
I am.
I am. You still feel very young.
Happiness is an inside job. It's very,
because
very...
I remember one of my brothers at some point, he was so upset. And he came back, so he was telling my wife, can you imagine those Matatu guys, they are telling me, Mzee Songa Uku. Can you imagine? So he's feeling offended. They called him Mzee. But the Matatu guys are in their 20s. At that particular point, he was already in his 40s. They're looking at him and they're saying, Mzee. Are we prepared for this stage? Are we in denial? Are we trying hard to stay young? Should we be...
I think I'd say for women, and you look very, very good.
Thank you.
But I'm sure a lot of women who are in their 40s don't look this good. Reason being, we either do it for the man or to get the man. And that I kept telling women this a lot. Please don't do it for the man, or because if you do it for the man, then you get him, then you stop because you've already gotten him. True. Or if you do it, say you're already with the person, they're you want him to compliment you. If he stops complimenting you, you also stop. So I wish women would just... I'm not 40 yet, but I think it could make a difference that if you do stuff, make decisions that are, say you're called Sarah. Is Sarah happy with 1, 2, 3? And then now, see how that now fits in the environment. Like, make choices that are not, don't feel like you're hooked or tied to that situation. You just ask yourself first, I like your 10-10-10. I think I'd put that in mind just to use. In the next 10 years, will I be happy with the decisions I've made right now? Yeah. So because if I'm doing it for the man, if I'm doing it for the society, then most likely you will not be happy with the decision when you're 40, say you're 30. So I think it's just women. I would speak for women. I don't know about men. I'd speak for women. It's good. Make decisions that are going to be. It's me first, and then now you ask, okay, fine. Does it fit in my environment, or should I add or remove this? But don't make decisions influenced on the man or the society or my friends or the things that are supposed to be popular. Yeah.
And just to add on to your point, Crystal, it's a matter of choices. CJ, it's a matter of choices.
Right.
If you want to be a parent, and even if you feel you are maybe inadequate in terms of the skills of parenting, there are classes out there, you know. With technology, we can attend Zoom classes and learn how to parent better, you know. If I don't want to age, that's my choice. Then I should be prepared to, you know, meet that cost of going through that anti-age process and all that.
Yeah.
So I think in every sense, we are prepared.
Okay.
But again, it also is pegged on your fear.
All right.
Yeah, and your ability to make the right choices.
Let me just ask this,
Yes.
Venus. So let's say, you know, in about 5-10 years,
Yes.
If Frank has this daughter who needs to get married in just a few years, and so now they're like,
That's true, but that example is true. It's coming. Go ahead.
so they're like, the other parents want to come and see the girl's dad.
Yes.
Are we in that place?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Or now, is he going to be looking for, he's already in his 40s, but he's looking for his uncle from somewhere else to come and handle.
And handle.
I mean, people do it differently. I think also with time, we'll just appreciate that some things are going to fall off.
Okay.
And we're going to be adapting to new things and new ways of, like, long time or not even long ago, dowries are things you'd have to go, somebody's up country.
Yeah.
All the way. Like different tribes would do it differently. Nowadays, somebody says, "No, I'm staying here in Kilelesha. You guys just come here and then we do it. We don't want to complicate things." And
Right.
In Luo culture, that's not allowed.
you know, from their tribes specifically, very much anchored to the traditions, but still within the same tribes, you get a few parents who feel this one. Let's
Do you
drop
think
it.
we're going to get to the place where they just say, let's just check that family on Facebook and
best-
sort of
because everything is online.
Yes. And even as forward thinking as I want to believe I am, I don't want to let dowry payment go. Can you imagine? I know every time I say it out loud, women are like, how dare you? I'm thinking, it's just some cultures that should remain. I don't know.
And you see,
I don't
it's
want
a
it to let it
choice.
go.
It's a choice. You have made that choice. Even me, I'd really like my kids to just understand how we used to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's all this, you know, it's so different when you're told to bring a goat. I remember my husband was told to bring a goat. Our cake was the heart of a goat. You know, all those things. And I was like, wow. You know, I was born in Nairobi. I've been born and bred, you know, here. But just seeing, you know, this culture thing and you're being told now you've been blessed and all that, you know, gives you an assurance, yeah? So at the end of the day, to her point, it's still a choice. You can choose whether to embrace culture or to just do it the way everyone else would want to, you know, maybe based on the fact that you're in denial that you're not this old. Because for me, I mean, ideally, if my son comes tomorrow with a girl and, you know, like, Mom, I want to get married, I mean, I'll give them the blessings, you
Can you
know,
imagine
and we'll
I
go
won?
through the culture. I don't mind.
So now,
I don't
who's old
mind.
school?
I know. And
That's what I'm saying. Eh?
I was like, nope.
When
I
they're
went
talking
to
about
my
the
child
dowry thing,
so young. I'm
was
just like,
like,
you're not allowed to get married until you're 30.
No
She doesn't understand.
way.
Reason being, I
Frank,
think,
who's old school?
it's a girl's thing. Yeah,
I
that's
know,
what I was
right?
going to.
reason being, I think I got married when I was just, I think 3 months turning 30. And I think it's the best time for me, my experiences, because I've met people who got married at 25, 24, 27. They say they wish they did not. Maybe your experience is different because
Very,
you also got
very
married early.
different.
Yeah.
Very
So they
early.
keep saying,
Venus just smiled.
they keep saying no. They're just like, I wish I waited until at least I was 30 because then maybe the things that I wanted to finish doing, and also marriage has a lot of emotional investment, which is very difficult when you're young. So because I've seen the experiences and I like my experience because I was a little older, I think it's better towards 30. So I'm just like, no. There's a niece of mine who told me, if I never get married, I think I'll blame you because you keep telling me not to get married because she's like 19 or 20.
But Crystal,
I'm like, don't do it now.
in the 80s, people were getting married at 19. Actually, earlier than that, and up to the 80s, people are getting married at 18, 19.
Yeah.
Somebody gets out of Form 4.
Yeah.
They get married.
Yeah.
It's the husband's responsibility to take her to college. Mostly it would be secretarial or TTC.
Yes.
Then in the 90s, the thing shifted.
Yeah.
It was getting to 30. You know, girls would get married at about 26, 27, 20, 28. Now, if you say right now somebody needs to get to 30, by the time your daughters are growing up, probably the limit would have moved to 50.
Okay, I get you.
It just keeps on changing.
Times keep on changing.
Yeah. And
because-
Crystal, just to back up what Chris is saying, in your 30s, by the time you're getting married in your late 30s, your body is going through a lot of changes, and that is the reason.
30 on the dot.
That is the reason, and tying this to the our diets nowadays. Yeah? You find that a lot of ladies are also struggling to just get pregnant.
Yes,
Why?
yes.
Hormones are, slowly, depreciating in the body. Then we have our diets. We are all about chips and all that. We are not really giving health good attention.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you combine these factors, you end up cooking a recipe for disasters in marriage.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
because your husband is giving you pressure. What's happening? It's 2 years. We have been married. There's nothing. Then secondly, you are now mature. In your 20s, you're more likely to be submissive, to your husband. And this is from my own experience.
No, it's true.
When I was in, I got married very early. So this was the husband of my youth. So
Yes.
I have this very disrespect for this man. But can you imagine if I got married in my 30s, my friend, it will be like, no, first of all, I have a degree. I can, and this is the kind of issues we are having nowadays because women are so empowered. Men are literally, equally empowered. So we're having this battle of sexes in the house, like I have to do this, I can do this for myself. So I really believe that it is good, for a girl, any woman to start early if they are able. If you meet someone at, in your early 20s, get married, have your babies. I mean, who will ever know that I have my, a son who's like 6'2", and I mean, everyone always, even when I'm traveling with him, I'm always asked at the immigration point, like, is this your son? And they're asking, bring all your documents, because if you look at his tall, and I've tried, not that I'm in denial, I've made a choice to try and remain young. You see,
Right.
so at the end of the day, it's even fun when you're parenting a teenager and you're still, kind of like level-headed, not so old, old school, but you're able to negotiate with this teenager, as opposed to, I mean, giving birth at 40, not in a bad way, not in bad light. And then, by the time your child is a teenager, you're in your 60s, my friend. You're suffering from dementia, Parkinson's disease. I mean, you can't even remember the name of your own child.
This is a ladies thing, eh? This age, we are looking at it. That's why I'm listening.
I wanted to raise something, even because this conversation can go on and on. So we're going to have to put a pause on it at some point, then we'll have it again. But I wanted to raise something. And I want to talk about that, but you raised it about the health issue. Because it's not just with the ladies. I mean, men, they'll be told now when you're in your 40s, you need to reduce on this, you need to reduce on this. You shouldn't be taking this. This is not good for your heart. This is not good for your health. And somebody said to me one time that most of the deaths that happen in hospitals, especially the private hospitals, it's middle age, and most of them are lifestyle diseases. You'll see a man drive and come in and sit at the bench over there waiting for the doctor and passes out over there. What are some of those things that we need to tweak a bit with our health when we're in our 40s?
Wow, I'd like to go first because
That's
my husband is like 4 years, 5 years older than me, and I've seen him try and work on his health based on the fact that the doctor has been telling him, if you don't do this, first of all, awareness. It's good to know what you've inherited from your family tree. For example, if you come from a family line that suffers from a lot of, high blood pressure or diabetes and all that, then you're next on the line. So start investing early in your 30s, in your 20s. Start, tweaking your diet so that you try and, prevent this thing from catching up with you early, We talk about sugars, you know, of course, because of diabetes. We talk about oils, a lot of fats and all that, because, of course, of high blood pressure, you know, heart diseases and all that. Those are things that we need to work on, not when you get to 40, but probably from the time you're, you know, late 30s, in your late 30s.
In your 20s.
Because in our 40s, I think our hormones just take a dip.
Yeah.
And remember, for the brain to function fully, it needs, you know, all the elements in place.
Okay.
And when you look at, you know, the dopamine, you know, the serotonin, which is very key in a woman's, you know, system, it has to do with her sexuality, her femininity, you know, sleep and all that. You find that a lot of women in their 40s go into depression. Why? Because this hormone keeps on depreciating. But there's a way we are told that you can supplement your diet and take, you know, natural herbs that can, you know, help this hormone maintain at a certain level. Otherwise, then you are predisposed to cancer.
Okay.
Yes, that's a fact. Yeah. So I think for me, one of the things that I've been trying to do, you know, just getting, and I've been telling Frank, oh, I'm going to go into my husband, and like, just start, you know, working out, because you need it. You're not doing it because, you know, you it's not a matter of choices. You have to do it if you want to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, it's gonna be, you know, something like, you know, you're in and out of hospital. You're always on medication, and you know, with medication, your liver will not function well. Yeah.
All right.
I think when I was 24, I met this lady at the gym. Then she must have been in her 40s. She told me, "What are you doing here? You're so young." I told her I'd like to age well. Yes, I don't want to have the lifestyle diseases. She's like, "But you're so young right now, nothing will happen." Then she told me, "If I may had a body like yours when I was in my 20s, but it has to change. It changes." I was like, "Okay." Then she said, "Wait until you have your first child." I had my first child. Nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Then I also wait until you turn 30. I turned 30. In fact, I like my body now. It even got better. Yes. So I wish that women would just look at it as, let me work out. And okay, when I say eat well, I'm those people who I eat everything, so I cannot really say eat well, but I think everything would be eat the good vegetables, like the traditional, I'm that person, the traditional vegetables in excess. The chips will still be in excess.
Yes.
However, start working out early so that when you're not solving a problem, when you're doing it, should a problem arise in the future. But people wait until there's a problem, then they start solving it.
Exactly.
Yes. But now, because like this woman, you don't understand why I'm trying to, what am I solving? There's nothing wrong with me at that time, I'm young. So she was like, just wait until you're that age, then now you need to sort it out. I was like, no, but I wish women would look at it like that. Don't wait for it to become a problem. Because I see people jogging, you're so heavy, so much time has passed. Like I wish, I apologize if I've offended anybody, but I wish women start doing it before it becomes a problem. Yes.
You know, it's more, they say 80% is on the diet, 20% is on the exercise.
Yeah.
Right? What you eat ideally will shape you and all those things. So it's 80%, then 20% exercise just supplements everything else. But just to be brutal, I think, is just to be real with you know, our viewers, and we just need to stop this thing of, as parents at 40 or whatever age, we want to show the society that we can afford meals at certain places, we can take our kids in certain places, we can eat in certain places. A child cries for a burger, you can go and have it all the time, French fries and everything else. These things start from the cradle. The moment you make your child get used to, I just want fries. You see, when you talk of traditional veggies and all that, some of these kids see those things the first time, they're like, whoa, what is this?
What is happening?
And some of us as parents, we also go and say, no, my child doesn't eat those things and this. When they get to a certain point, they start getting sick. That's when you default to, the doctor said he needs to eat vegetables. He's not going to start eating those things. So we also need to move back and remember, we are raising our own. Let's have our own happiness, our own space, our own family where we are doing things our own way. But let's not do it. And I think there's a time, I don't know which show we said, you'll see somebody going to Hilton and saying, hey, checked in Hilton, Kempinski, not Kempinski having lunch. You wait till you see them on Gikombo someplace, nobody will post. When they're going to get some retail, they won't post. Right?
Well, that's all the time we have had, though, but we are checked in at Pete's Connected Coffee. It's been a pleasure just having each and every one of you. I'm going to allow our panel, each one of them, just to have just the final word about the thing of being 40 and age. And of course, Frank and Venus will invite us to their YouTube channel every Friday, 8:30 p.m., right?
Yeah.
There's an episode that comes out on being 40 and all these conversations go on over there. I want all those guys who are in our class WhatsApp group, because you all know you're over 40. You need to be tuned in and just be dealing with all of this stuff. Frank, your last words.
Yeah, so Being 40 channel is on Facebook and it's on YouTube. 40 is spelled F-O-U-R-T-Y, not the usual one that you know, that's deliberate. But my parting shot is, be it 40 is a stage in life, basically. And for us, coming up with the concept of being 40 was just, what can we share with different people? So, I mean, we've been here with Crystal, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed the fact that she identified her purpose at a very tender age, which is really, really good. Not so many people get to that point. But as young parents, be it you're 40 or below 40 or above, what I'll tell you is, think of the butterfly, right? The way butterfly comes from a caterpillar. And when a caterpillar, they go through that thing we call metamorphosis, right? There's a point where when it's still in the cocoon and it's trying to come out of the cocoon itself, it's a very painful process. If you go and try to open and crack that cocoon on its behalf, when eventually it opens up, the butterfly will not have strong wings to fly. What I'm basically telling you is that's a process the caterpillar has to go through to form into a butterfly. So the painful process is strengthening the butterfly to be's wings to be able to fly. Right. If you stop that process in between because you're feeling sorry, eventually when you release it and you open the cocoon, the butterfly will not fly. It will come out and die. This is the same thing that happens to our kids. For some of people who are parenting, these are the same people thinking of shortcuts in life. You have to go through that process so that you get the energy and the strength, regardless where you are. Stay in your cocoon. That is you. Build your strength. When you come out of it, you're going to fly away like an eagle. Parting shot from me. And remember, click, subscribe, share on Being 40 on YouTube and on Facebook. Thanks, CJ.
Wow, that's amazing. That's powerful. I recently read a story about a lady who attended a funeral, and on the template for the grave, you know, there's something that was written that was very, very powerful, and it said, "I was once where you were. Very soon you'll be where I am."
Wow.
And when we look up at life and every situation, we've talked about being 40, you know, about lifestyle diseases, all these challenges. We are always thinking that the other person, you know, maybe they're having issues, you know, you're always feeling you're better. Right. But one day you will be where that person will be. So in every situation, remember the difference between where that person is and where you are is choices and your mentality.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Friend, that's brutal.
It's true.
Crystal.
I think for me, I'm not 40 yet, but what I've learned that I think would help me embrace my 40 better as opposed to regret is to make decisions, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, sit with yourself first, and then like when you have those meetings you have within yourself, pick the things that you feel this is important to me and this I can live without, this I cannot live without. And then now when you decide now your environment, whether it should be children, work, or relationships, then you decide, is it favorable to my environment, so that you're not comparing or feeling pressure or coping, because now you're aware this is my environment. When I achieve 1, 2, 3 in whatever way, there's no formula. There's no one is better than the other. No, whatever is important to you as a person. Now you decide, okay, fine, this is important. Now your environment, then you'll not regret, or you will not try to compare, or you will not feel the need to keep rushing, like you're saying with the caterpillar and the butterfly. You don't feel the point to keep rushing. You feel according to what I have planned for myself as Crystal. Yes, I would say that.
So do your 10, 10, 10.
Thank you. Yeah, and he's put it simply: do your 10, 10, 10. It's very it's very key.
Amazing insights that we have received today. Well, even if you're 20 right now, you're going to get to 40 at some point, hoping that you live long. And because you want to live long, so you'll get to 40. As Venus says that, you know what, where I am, you will be there as well. But if you're there already, well, there's still choices, mentality, and I will add their chances. There are always chances everywhere. Frank has said, it's a metamorphosis, so you keep on going there. But what I've picked, even from what Crystal was saying, is that at a certain stage you come to the place of authenticity. That 40 offers you that place where it's who you are or you want to be. My thought is, at 40 you're either taking off or you're crashing. It is a very, very vital stage. You're on the runway. And if you don't have enough power, then you crash. If you have enough power, and that is why your 20s and your 30s must be used to build up your energy, your taxiing and your taking off, so that when you hit 40, you have enough power to lift the plane off the ground. Well, it's been a delight being with you. Please follow, subscribe, like, share Being 40 Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram as well. Follow CJ Scott everywhere, and CJ Atemo on YouTube as well. I'm looking forward to doing something with Crystal one of these days as well. I'm looking forward so that we do something so we can talk about it. Then we can have this. So they come in as the hosts of Being 40, and then we come in as the hosts of Being Millionaires. And
Amen.
Yeah, but it's been a delight. So until next Saturday, keep it right here. CJ Scott.